I'd like to start today recognizing August 27th and what it means to the Miami Dolphins. It was a year ago today that we lost such a valuable member that I think the people that Jason touched in this organization, in the community. Um, it's so visceral and real that it, it would it would be I'd be shortchanging the reality of a lot of people in this building and a lot of people in uh, really across America that lost someone so dear to them. So our prayers and with the family that they continue to progress and while mourning. And it's a day that's not lost on anyone, Miami Dolphin or all the other people that he's touched in the National Football League and across the country.
Start.
And yeah, who's starting?
Go ahead, Hal.
Hi, Mike. Thanks for that memory of Jason. It is a day that we can't forget. I wanted to ask you naturally about Dawood Davis. I know he's released from the hospital. What more can you tell us about his situation, and have you had a chance to talk with him?
Well, he just recently got in the building. He's in the concussion protocol. We'll continue to evaluate him. He's um, uh, doing better than last night in terms of strength and stuff. And so, like I said last night, um, you know the you know there were certain things that we were worried about that were avoided, but we'll continue monitoring him extensively as he's in the protocol. But I know there's certainly a lot of guys that are very, very, very happy and relieved to see him.
Great news. Thanks.
Barry.
Hi, Mike. Hoping also for good news on Savon and Elijah Campbell. Any sense on if Elijah's leg injury is long term, and is Savon also in concussion protocol like Dawood?
So Savon is not in concussion protocol. He'll be day to day, and Elijah. So after we had talked at the press conference, there was a little apprehension amongst the medical staff that it could be his ACL. Fortunately, it is not. So we're kind of assessing, the extent, and all I can really tell you is there's a season chance for him, and we shouldn't. He avoided one thing, but there was a substantial injury that will take him into the season.
Thank you.
David.
Hi, Mike. First, how pleased were you to get the extension done with Zach Sealer? Can you speak to his importance to the team?
Man, I was fired up, and so were a lot of his teammates. Just because Zach Zach epitomizes such an important thing within the journey of the NFL player. You're talking about a guy that has earned every cent that he's paid. He's been cut twice, and I think the timing as far as it relates to the team, couldn't be better for so many guys in the next 48 hours that aren't able to make the final 53. I think that is something that's real, and can feel in the moment like your dream's over. And I think he's an exemplary he's a great example. Yeah, we'll just do great example of worrying about what you can control. And he's we're happy to get that done, as well as the locker room's happy for him too.
That was an exemplary answer. And getting his deal done first, what does that say about where things stand with Christian Wilkins?
Well, there's a fortunately there's a good amount of players on this team that we want to keep around. So they're really independent of each other. What it boils down to is you have an organization and a player in this representation being able to come to an agreement. And so in one, in with regard to Zach, we were able to come to an agreement, and that's independent of Christian, and it speaks nothing as to anything but that. It's just we were able to come to an agreement, both parties, and that's really the length of it.
Mark?
How's it going, Coach?
Good. I apologize for my somber my somber speak. These are my least favorite days of the entire calendar year, to be honest. And so I don't mean not to be excited. Sorry, Mark.
No worries. Understood. I had a question more so about yesterday's game with Skylar Thompson, just him showing poise after throwing those 2 interceptions. What were some things that you discussed with him on the sideline, if at any, just for him to get things going, leading to your first scores on offense during that game?
Well, I think another caveat to that story that made me happy about the way he responded was the second interception was something that pretty much I don't put on him at all. There was a protection misassignment. So in those situations, I'm most worried about a quarterback recognizing people that aren't accounted for in a protection. When they aren't accounted for, you have to make split-second decisions. And when he let the ball go, he didn't see that defender. That's something that if I have a quarterback chasing ghosts on jobs that we were expecting to be done by other players, then they're going to be very ineffective. So I was very worried about him naturally that snowballing and affecting his play. And what I was able to talk to him about was, hey, listen, he immediately came to the sidelines and was like, yeah, I didn't even see that guy. We busted the protection. I was like, perfect. Okay. So if that's the case, should that play, that last specific play, factor into anything as far as the next drive, the next play, the next assignment, read, footwork, and decision? Said no. So he, to me, that shows mental fortitude at a high degree. He went out and responded and made some good plays. We need to minimize turnovers on offense, always, with the turnover differential being the number one indicator of wins and losses. But that's with everyone. And sometimes it's not as simple as the quarterback threw an interception. That the second play or the second interception for sure. I don't really give. I don't put on him, and I was glad that he didn't put it on himself.
Thank you.
Alan?
Hi, Mike. Now that we're 2 weeks away from the start of the regular season, I wanted to follow up on the situation with Tyreek Hill. Have you gotten any indication from the league in terms of where they stand with a potential suspension, whether they've closed the book on it and know he will not be suspended, or where do things stand there?
Whew, I mean, you're just trying to layer my whatever day it is today, Sunday. I as far as I know, nothing's been brought to my attention. My focus right now is on things that we can control, and the things that we can control are very difficult decisions with a roster that has more NFL players than NFL spots.
David Lang, WPLG.
Coach, you mentioned this is one of your least favorite days. You also seem to be someone who really values players' dreams and helping them fulfill their dreams. So over the next 48 hours, how do you get the best 53-man roster while at the same time as a human ending so many people's NFL dreams?
You know, that is so, you have to, I think it goes back to a concrete look at what my job is and who I'm responsible for, which is a lot of people, and that when push comes to shove, it's the job of Chris and myself that's a job at this point in the year that nobody wants. So you have to make the tough decisions, and in that, you find a little solace, but it's very, very minimal because, again, you're right. The journey of an NFL player is not lost on me at all. I don't take for granted anything that really any you have all the investment in the world from these guys that are doing everything in their power to be a part of the team. And when guys are circumstantially falling short, because there's a ton of really tough decisions where sometimes your roster makes you let go of a guy that you'd never think you'd let go of, but one position has an abundance of players. There's another position of need that you have to kind of pull from that. So it's very convoluted. Thankfully, there's so many very talented and capable people in this building that Chris and I don't make that decision alone, although we have to together make the final decision. The input of Vic Fangio, the input of Frank and Danny, and all the position coaches. We have a very talented coaching staff, and then all of the people that Chris has under his wing. It's a collection of people. You try to take in all the information, and then you just know that you have to do what's best for the team, and that's your motivating factor. But there's going to be residual casualties for me of emotion that is ever present. That's why I again, least favorite time of the entire season, the entire year, calendar year, and a roster that has a lot of talent makes it that much more difficult.
So more so than tax season and, say, a trip to the dentist, this would be number one.
Way more so. It's not even close. Like it is. It's in conflict. You're trying to make people the very best that they can be, and then in turn, you have to tell them, well, hey, that wasn't good enough for the 53-man roster, even if they're very sensible and understanding of the competition, and it really hits people in the gut. It's not easy, but you have to keep in mind I was hired to be a head coach. And within that isn't all bells and whistles and skips. And, these are the things that somebody has to, there's what, 90 man roster, 53, that math, even for some of you guys that are math deficient, I think you can see how difficult that is. And it's not something I take lightly in the least.
We're going to take the 4 hands that are up, and then that'll be it. So we'll start with Perk.
Hey, Mike, question as it pertains to your backup quarterback situation. What is Mike White's situation regarding the concussion protocol? And have you seen enough to publicly announce your number 2 quarterback?
As far as Mike White's concerned, he cleared concussion protocol on Friday. And with regard to an announcement of the number 2, I think it I think it behoove the players involved to tell them first, and you'll probably be getting some buzzworthy notification of that in a press conference maybe on next Monday.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Joe?
Thanks, Mike. I'll definitely attend that said news conference. Hey, I thought you guys were going to win the challenge. On the initial replays last night, I said, "Oh, that's obvious." And then the more replays I saw, I said, "Oh, maybe it's not quite so obvious." Has anything changed about the replay advice protocols that you guys have in place for this year? Fewer voices, more voices, anything like that?
No, ultimately that decision always is mine. But in terms of the streamline of the information given to me, we have adjusted our kind of how we do things on a game day, being able to streamline the voices and having very valuable people in the box, making sure that their voices are heard, but then delegating one person to make sure that their eyes are on television copies and all the replay access that we have at all times. Someone outside the coaching staff that is their sole purpose is to give me aid in that, so guys know to speak through them to me.
Yeah, that was definitely a tough call at first. Sometimes they seem real obvious, and then all of a sudden, oh, wait a second, as you get more views, it's not. Wilson and Eichenberg, are they both probably in good position to be healthy for the season?
They both guys are some of my favorite battlers of my career. Liam, for instance, I definitely showed his teammates how far he was willing to go last week in practice, and was dressed for the game in case of emergency. However, in a competition of a lot of able bodies, didn't think it was fair to him to be 3/4 competing, and then 1/4 just trying to make it to the next play. So he's getting better. It was a extremely painful thing that he's going through, and very similar to Jeff Wilson. Both of those guys would have gone last night if it would have been up to them. However, the injuries with Jeff as well. It's going through some very painful midsection things, and on top of the a finger that he was dealing with, all of the things were compounding, and I didn't think either one of them, it would be fair to them it would be a fair representation of them to play in that game, and so they're progressing as they know they need to.
Thank you.
Final question, Daniel.
Hey Mike, with the
The
preseason,
closer,
yeah,
you're the closer.
yeah, I'll try to end it off on a good note. With training camp and the preseason kind of coming to an end, I know one thing that was really big for you in the offense was, you know, building off of, you know, what you did last year. In the preseason game specifically, we've seen a lot of screen passes. I was curious, you know, how that kind of complements and can complement what you all did so well in year one.
Well, I think you're always trying to find ways to, you know, it comes down to the base principle of taking advantage of overplay. So there's different mechanisms in year two that you're able to kind of get to the nitty gritty details of how to execute the plays. You're very correct in that. That did fall in the off-season assessment of things that we could improve upon, and that's taken advantage of the space created when you are able to engender some explosive plays. So you know that whether those show face in the regular season, but you know, I think the more things that defenses have to think about, the more advantageous it is for the offense.